exist. Because, well, yeah, I don't know, like, I think you see it a lot, like, in art schools, there are these people that don't seem that passionate, and then that you're just, like, churning out crap, and you're like, I don't know, it's then, like, I think there's enough of that in the world. So, yeah, so I think, like, yeah, but then it's, like, difficult when you're trying to do something, like, to do with it, then whether it's actually having any sort of impact or whether it's like also just pointless but in a different way. But I guess it's better to try and to make things out of waste than just new things that don't have any chance of making people think about these issues. Yeah.
Okay. So I see this problem also from the institution perspective more, and to build a community, especially the artist community, is really, really important. And Frankie was speaking before about social media and so on, and I think this process it really helps, because this year we were showing the exhibition of Open Triennale. We showed the really young Polish artists, emerging artists, but it came out that they are already they built some community. By Instagram, by all those social medias, and I think that brings something really revolutionary, because the art starts to live in the internet. It's just spreading around the world. And also the ideas, the possibilities of the brainstorms. It's much more inspirations that you can find if there is a community around you. So, yeah.
Okay. So it's the last question for this discussion. Are there any role models or trends in arts that promote and contribute to social change? So good examples, you know, and you think it should be widespread, and because they work and can be adopted to other projects as well.
Well, I would say one more time about those performative models, I think. Models of artists working with people, and I think that in Poland also we have some really interesting models of artists of position like that, like, I don't know, Artur Żmijewski, for example. They are working with the local people, and actually the art piece is not made. You can argue, maybe it's their art piece, maybe it's the art piece of the locals, but then some changes are, you know, in those people that are interacting. So I think that if we want to make a change, especially in ecological issues, so I think those performative, those action things, activism, and artist as an activist, it would be interesting model to work out that problem.
Should I take this one? Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Like, I think things that involve like lots of people, or something where there's some sort of interactive or immersive element, because I think, yeah, like now you can see lots of art on the internet, and then that's good for connecting you, but then I think that also makes, when you physically experience something, it makes it more important, because it's like so different from the way you now see most art, and yeah, so I think that's how you create a lasting impact on people, because then you remember the experience and the feelings, and then yeah, it's like a collective experience with other people as well.
Yes.
Is that okay? Oh, okay.
I think that what I forgot to mention before is also, art was and is, and, I hope it will stay also the cultural barometer, It was present in it's part of our culture anyway, the culture developed because of this, and it's kind of interconnected also. And when I speak about arts, I don't mean only visual arts, but also writings, poetry, everything. So, and of course, one of those kind of reflections of these days' world, it is, it's like, I think all around the globe there is the same issues, nationalism is rising in so many countries, on so many levels, that I've started to be scared many times. Ecology, it's very kind of driven by economy. There's so many interconnectivities which we are of course all aware, and it's just like how to work around that together is, especially with this kind of community projects, very important to bring also not only the Europeans but also all around the globe. And what you tried with this project, I think I will have a question for you now. But also to bring something this, it's also like, okay, yes, of course the project is European based because you have European partners, but like with Lina and with some other artists which they are taking part, I think you manage. And where do you see the, yes, especially that, because sometimes we kind of forget where there's also other parts which they are very important also to, and sometimes developing countries, they are overjumping some steps which we think that we are the most developed, and we are far from that, especially because they are looking at some renewable sources from different points of views. So this is the question now for you further. So how was working with Lina and Asia and this kind of markets?
Yesterday we heard at the hackathon that there was this man from Kenya, that they already banned single-use plastic bags, right? So we are trying to fight for it, and they just did it. So this is always very good. I now would like to thank you first for your opinions, but I also would like to open up the discussion. So what aspects are you interested in that specific topic of rediscovering the role of the artist? So is there any kind we have lost in our discussion here, so forgot? Please, ask us. Be open. Anything. Now we have so many artists here, and other artists also in the crowd. So.
What I missed a bit, but which is also a bit my personal concern as an artist, is that I think one of our most important jobs is to free imagination from the invasion, the constant invasion of marketing and neoliberal strategies, which are actually turning our minds into occupied countries. So I think, because, actually there has been, oh God, who was it?
Can you hear this, or should she take the mic?
Should I take a mic? Yes.
Yeah, what? Make it short.
I make it short. Yeah, I think one of the most important jobs of artists is to keep imagination free and alive, and I think that is becoming increasingly difficult in our times, when actually important thinkers, much more important than me, have already said stuff like it is not possible anymore to even think, to even imagine an alternative to capitalism as we have it now, which is interesting. I mean, that is really interesting. It is easier to imagine the end of the world than to imagine an alternative to the system we're living in right now. So the key to a lot of our problems is probably to keep open these small windows of the imagination, and I think that is our job, if anybody's.
So, would you agree on that?
Yes.
You would like to? No, you agree? Okay, perfect.
I
Thanks,
have
Kata.
another question, just came up my mind, that we work together with artists, and Weronika, you too, but all of you are artists. And so we have a practice or experience how we can involve them and work together with you in different kind of topics. But of course you are absolutely engaged and devoted to this project. But how you see in your artist community or society, are they also open? Because sometimes when we talk about artists, whether they are contemporary artists or classical